Hello and welcome to the Business of the Business, a podcast. I'm your co-host, JP John Paz from the Two-Man Power Trip. Of course, joining me is the financial wrestling genius, the doctor himself, Mr. Lavie Margolin. Lavie, how you doing today, sir?
Hey, John, I'm doing great. The summer isn't officially over, but with school starting and all of that, it's over. We snuck away for a vacation day after Labor Day returning, so it's all good. But the last couple of weeks, we started out with unique WWE stories, but WWE nonetheless. So I like that we're going really niche, or actually not niche in its market, but to a totally different focus and market today to start out.
Yeah, this is pretty interesting. This kind of was one of the ones when sometimes when you have a topic, I'm like, what is this about? Pokemon. I'm like, what in the world is going on here? So what is going on with CMLL and what is going on with Pokemon?
Yeah, John. So first, I just wanted to get some context because our sons are around the same age. Was your son a Pokemon player? Is he a Pokemon player? Is it a big thing in his school?
So yes, yes, and yes. So sometimes he hasn't done it yet this year because obviously, literally, school just started yesterday. But he'll bring in the notebook of all the cards. I don't know if they're like actually proficient at actually playing it, quote unquote, but they trade constantly or trading the cards. So yeah, he's definitely into it. Is your son into it?
Yeah, my son is into it. So first was the cards, and then I made the mistake of buying a magazine about Pokemon. And he had heard about Pokemon Go, but he didn't think about it much. He's like, "Dad, can I download it?" And then he got really into that as well. And through that, I learned about Hawlucha, which is one of the wrestler Pokemon, so Lucha Libre one specifically. But I actually did learn how to play the basics of the game, which is really surprising for me because I feel like I'm too old to learn games. I remember actually my freshman year of college. I was in a marketing class. So of course, you always want to do like fun reports. Of course, there's the wrestling report on WWE and so on. But I did one on Nintendo and it kept saying Pokemon, Pokemon. And this was in 98. So I know it was like becoming known here, but I didn't know what it was. And I was a little bit too old for it. So all that being said, Pokemon Hawlucha X CMLL, Mega Hawlucha, the wrestling Pokemon, enters the ring in Pokemon Legends Z to A. Mega Hawlucha spreads its wings in a new video and takes center stage in a Mexico City event. The Pokemon Company group revealed details of a new Mega Evolved Pokemon found in that game. Hawlucha, an entertainer, flexing the strength of its pumped-up muscles, is ready to prove there's even more to its showboating style through Mega Evolution. So there's a little bit of description of what it does, but whatever. To celebrate the upcoming launch of that game, the Pokemon Company International has partnered with CMLL to host a special event at Arena Mexico on September 25th. The showcase will feature 4 exhibition matches with top lucha wrestlers, including fan favorite Mystico, with tickets available through Ticketmaster. So, John, how do you think that show did?
I
In
would
advance
imagine.
sales?
I would imagine pretty good. I would think.
Yeah, completely sold out.
Wow,
Like
nice.
not a ticket to be found. I don't have the point of comparison. How quickly CML shows sell out and compared to anniversary shows and so on. Obviously, they do quite well all the time in Arena Mexico, but I think this was a stunning success, but not a surprising one as well. So it actually, John, gave me further context for what was it, Tiger Mask in Japan? When it would cross over from a cartoon to an active wrestler, there were fans that were fans of Tiger Mask that would come over right for the wrestling. So
Yep.
I think if anything, in terms of mainstream lucha worldwide, like if they wanted to take this Lucha character and bring it to different places, I think it could do really well. Of course, a little bit of the context of that, I don't know, like with AEW fans, if you sort of just plop him in the middle, that that they would take to it right away. Although I'm sure a lot are Pokemon players, but like I could see it as a draw, like really crossing over, and WWE would be smart to. Well, I guess it would be hard. They couldn't really do it right for AAA. I guess anyone but WWE. Well, no, you know what? it depends on what the relationship is with Pokemon, right? Like if this is a one-time collaboration, I know that there was like a preview event where a couple of the Pokemon characters were on CML programming. But if this has like an end date to it, once they're clear of that, like imagine bringing this character to AAA under WWE. I think it has a lot of crossover potential.
Yeah, definitely. Totally agree. Feel like anytime you can even do just a little bit of the crossover has a huge amount of potential.
Yeah, I'm going to once the video is posted, I plan to show it to my son, see like how interested he is in it, just to recap. So my son, he's got clips here and there, and he's been interested in Bianca Belair, like swinging her hair and so on, like some of that standout stuff. When he went to the Christmas show, as you did, John, at Madison Square Garden, he was kind of like, yeah, that was good. I liked it. He didn't. Then he realized he was so far away when we went to an independent show that he loved the independent show. And that's really what he wants to go to next. So I wouldn't say like a wrestling fan, but he does like it in the little bits that he's seen. He still finds it funny that I'm like so into it. He doesn't completely get it yet, but there's certain points where he enjoys it.
Nice, nice. It is interesting, like trying to get the son into it, and me and you, obviously, we like it more than they like it. But my son loves it. He's a huge Jey Uso fan. We went to SummerSlam. He loved it, so he's still like it's super into it, super fan. But I still feel like I'm like a bigger fan than he is.
Yeah, it's kind of funny, like as we'll get more into it, it'll be less of a question, but it's sort of like funny, like that is into something that's like so off the wall or whatever, like like as our my son sees in me, your son seeing you, like it's sort of like it's like a unique it's a unique perspective. They don't always see that side of of parents.
Yes, definitely, for sure. So anything else with CMLL, or can we talk about something more American? Can we talk about real? Let's talk about something real American. Let's talk about real American freestyle, Lavie.
USA.
US. That's right. Let's talk a little Hulk Hogan freestyle here.
Yeah, so a tribute to the Hulkster. So how, like, I'd imagine, Sean, you haven't downloaded Fox Nation. So, like, what was your exposure to what was your exposure to the Real American, the debut show, like, and how have you like been judging its success thus far?
So I was obviously following on WrestleTix, over 3,000 tickets sold. So I was kind of just impressed with that, because everyone was saying, oh, it sold less tickets than Dynamite. They were going crazy because obviously Eric Bischoff's involved, and he's not a big Tony Khan fan, and he's not a big AEW fan. So they were kind of going, but then it sold, I guess, 3,200 tickets. It did well in that department. I saw a lot of social media posts. I know I follow Eric Bischoff on social media and stuff, and I follow like Chael Sonnen, and obviously I saw all that. So I was kind of like not bombarded, but I saw a lot more than I thought I would see of Real American Freestyle. It was all over my social medias.
Yeah, like to me, again, also being a couple steps removed, not having downloaded Fox Nation, and I think if they put the whole thing up, I would kind of like give it a chance or whatever. But like, it looked great, in terms of the way it was produced. Love the way that they put the mat in the center and elevated it, and just like that look to it. It definitely didn't look like amateur Olympic wrestling in that way. Love that there was like a little bit of surprises out there. Kudos to Holly Holm, right? She took this wrestling match on one day's notice, and like she had the gas tank to last and almost win, like, which is amazing. Like, having wrestled at a totally different level before, I just know like how tiring it is, and how much you have to train, and just like being ready for that is like pretty amazing. I think they had some of the recent collegiate stars that are known in that world, but there's this other thing where you have to find like that right balance so it doesn't overwhelm. You don't want it to necessarily be like celebrity wrestling, where it's not necessarily dangerous, except if somebody has certain concerns. So I can't like imagine like Kurt Angle getting on the mat at this point in his life, but like even people that shouldn't be doing MMA anymore or something like that, if they have a wrestling background, or obviously if they've trained MMA, they've trained wrestling a bit, you could have fun with superstar matches, and you could really bring people to the sport with this, as long as it doesn't sort of overwhelm thing. And of course, we saw Tito Ortiz and Chael Sonnen, challenging each other, whatever, for Real American Freestyle too, and that like brings a lot of attention in a different way. And it's kind of like you don't feel bad for them, like it's kind of like it's not dangerous, and a good way to make money, and they bring a lot of attention to it. And finally, in terms of what I'm aware thus far, I think really smart selection in terms of Real American Freestyle 2, doing it at Penn State. Penn State, of course, one of the amateur college wrestling powerhouses for years. So you have that built in. I believe they have at least one or two wrestlers on their roster already. They're from Penn State. So you have that like hometown type of thing, or home market. And the venue looks great. It's a 6,000 person field house. And I think that's the right size, even if they can't move that many tickets. That makes more sense than like, the 18,000 seat Cleveland venue, even if you could gussy it up in a way that looks better, and they do better than AEW.
I love, though, almost pro wrestling style of like, next time, it's me and you, and obviously it's kind of not really from that world, but he is. He's he's an entertainer. He's kind of loves pro wrestling. He's always taking superstar Billy Graham promos and cutting promos, so that's perfect. And obviously Tito fits well into that world. So a little bit of pro wrestling mixed in, and obviously two huge names, and it's going to be a rematch and everything else. So pretty cool that they're doing Son and Tito Ortiz for RAF2.
Yeah, I think, and obviously it comes across as a lot over the top, like in reflection, but I think like Pride in its peak had the right balance, meaning that like if you were a hardcore MMA fan, like you get top stars, you get great fights and whatever it may be. And there was a lot of like, Antonio Inoki and I don't want to say a diaper, right? Because I don't want to be disrespectful, but something that looked like a diaper for us watching from America, where he's pounding the drums, or, so you have that spectacle part that, brings people in entertainment, but you have to kind of like go slow, tread carefully. Like, you have a base of people that enjoy amateur wrestling. It's not a very big base, so obviously you have to do more to grow it, but, you don't want it to seem like a full spectacle where the top wrestlers aren't there. You really want to follow their journey even to the Olympics, and maybe they could come back as Olympic champions too. And if there is a relationship one day, and I think that they talked about that as aspirational on the radar with TKO, that if it's something where people could float in and out of the wrestling in between matches for UFC, kind of like what they do with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu from time to time on the Fight Pass, then that's a win for them. Before we move on to beyond amateur wrestling, I wanted to send good wishes to Amit Elor, a dominant American Israeli gold medalist at the most recent Olympics, who just announced on her Facebook she's expecting her first baby, but she does plan to compete for 2028.
Oh, nice. Congrats, for sure. Just going to throw this out here. It was not Inoki. It was Takada.
Takada, sorry.
That was doing, that pounding the drum. Yes.
That shows my ignorance. But Inoki has been on Pride, right?
Yes, I believe so. But okay. Takada, he was the number one draw for them. I mean, he's he's Mr. Pride, if you will.
Yes, I love that like backstory, like the dominant UWFI champion, sort of like that quasi, is it real? Is it not real? And then sort of like, how do we get through this? Fighting the Gracies, and like who can he beat? And then maybe a worked match or two, like in terms of rehabilitation, then coming back for big fights. It's like a fascinating story, and I love to read history of Pride.
Yes, so cool. Absolutely, I love it. So just as far as RAF, definitely looking forward to the next show, Sonnen versus Ortiz, and like you said, Penn State. But what's going on in the world of GCW right now? Seems like maybe catching fire a bit. I've been seeing a ton of coverage for GCW right at the moment, a lot due to Killer Cross.
Yeah, so like we talked about recently, I think bringing in stars that are coming outside of WWE and then like having a different angle to them and so on, brings the attention. So they have to be able to capitalize on that some more. So in terms of ticket sales, in some markets, it continues to be slow. The market that's not surprisingly looking strong thus far is Homecoming in LA on September 20th. There's 4 rows deep sold, and then just general admission, but there's room, I think, for 3 or 4 more rows of seats. I'd imagine that'll be a sellout or close to a sellout. Something, though, to look at, right? Like, we know that they want to hit all 50 states, not just the territorial, but they've been in Hawaii, and now they're going to Alaska. So they're going to check that box no matter what. But, it has to make sense, or I think it would have to make sense financially too. October 4th, there's still plenty of tickets left in the front row. So just something, to think about as things move along there. Now, the Bloodsport show in September, which we've talked about, they're actually teaming up with Progress, which is always cool, like to make it an event type weekend or a couple days in a row, whatever it may be. Teaming up with Defy, their longtime partner out there in Seattle. So they're going to be out there on December 5th, teaming up with them. So in terms of upcoming shows, Detroit at Harpo's on September 12th, Rumble on the River in Indianapolis on the 13th, Mesa, Arizona on the 19th, the Homecoming show, as we mentioned, on the 20th. They're doing on the 21st JCW show. Interesting to see if the talent will be back that's working LA already, or it'll be some more local talent there. Then on the 28th, Bloodsport, Anchorage, Alaska, as we talked about on October 4th. I'm sure more filled in between now and then, but October 11th and 12th, Atlantic City. The Fight Club, Tag 1 and 2, including the Art of War games with the Juggalos. October 24th, Shotzi Blackheart's House of Horrors in Rochester. They always do well in Brett's original home market. And of course, I love like the advertising and so on I've seen for this event. I think GCW is always at its best, like when they're thematic in terms of events, not just like old song names, but highlighting certain talent and letting them probably help being involved in the creative and the direction in that way. Then number of shows, I'm sure, to be filled in between now and then. But again, Seattle on December 5th.
What in the world is going on with WWE right now? We don't talk about them a lot, but it seems like a global takeover in the world of WWE.
Yeah, so something that Sport Cal covered, and I don't think too much from the outlets that cover WWE. WWE strikes long-term commercial agreement with France's PSG. The pair are looking to diversify their audience as WWE prepares to land in France, or at the time, of course, that this article came out. WWE has announced a wide-ranging deal with French soccer giants Paris Saint-Germain as it gears up to stage its first premium live event. The deal includes the pair collaborating on original content, exclusive merchandise, fan engagement initiatives, crossover appearances, and community-driven projects. It adds to the existing relationship between WWE and PSG, which saw them unveil a co-branded Legacy Championship belt featuring PSG colors and logo in March, which was sold across WWE shop and PSG store, as well as Fanatics. Fabian Allegra, the chief brand officer of PHG, said, "We're excited to collaborate with WWE at such a pivotal time for their business. We aim to collectively unite fans," and so on. So the promotion's French tour comes as part of WWE's internationalization efforts that has seen its host PLE around the globe, including Cardiff, Glasgow, London, Lyon, Berlin, Perth, and San Juan. It also stages regular events in Saudi Arabian cities of Riyadh and Jeddah. PSG, meanwhile, is looking to capitalize on its global status, having won the UEFA Champions League for the first time in June. In recent years, PSG has attracted massive global commercial interest, in part due to its tie-up with Nike and so on. So somebody gave me some more insight there that I believe PSG has Middle Eastern ownership as well, so it's sort of tying them even more to a global brand. But we see this like from wrestling companies at the smallest level to the largest, where it's a smart thing where you go into market and you look like, who else can we collaborate with and benefit from? And obviously local sports leagues makes the most sense, whether it's a minor league team, in the same size and so on, or to its biggest scale. Now, John, we didn't mention this on the show when it came out, but I was curious. I'd love to get your insight on it. So with soccer in the US, of course, there's Major League Soccer. And then there's like, or is it UCL or something, which is sort of like the next tier down, but they're aspiring to go next up to be a little bit more competitive with MLS, but they're sort of like the AAA or minor league system now. Now, AEW initiated something with them, like sort of co-promotion and uniforms and that sort of thing. Now, for a brand that sort of wants to be seen as like the 1A in pro wrestling, when you're teaming up with like something that's minor league, do you think that it's only a benefit to both because you can promote each other's brands, or like if you're dealing with something minor league, it sort of makes you look more minor league?
I do think it depends on who you're like teaming up with. Like for instance, WWE is trying to give Patrick Mahomes the title belt, and you know what I mean, NFL and something just something huge. So I do think that does come off like, oh, minor league. Well, how come they couldn't get MLS soccer? You know what I mean? It does come off it's not terrible, but it just doesn't come off like as grandiose as when you're a part of like something major and something bigger than yourself. Really, that's kind of the goal. It actually benefits the soccer team way more, or in the soccer organization way more than it benefits AEW.
Yeah, that makes sense. Like certainly when TNA comes to town and they're like teaming up with the minor league team, it makes like a lot more sense to me. Because you have that sort of like on the same level, and no one's kind of assuming that they're anything more than they are. But sometimes it can not be a great look if it's something else like that. So I don't think anyone's stopping a fan from them. It's just sometimes you want to think about like perception there. So in terms of perception and minor leagues and sub brands and that sort of thing, NXT is doing this experiment, going out there live for Triple Shot weekend. Not actually, the first night is as we record this. Spartanburg, North Charleston, and Augusta. So one of the things that we have to remember is WWE really cut back a while ago on their live events team. Now, there's an NXT team, as far as I understand, that's probably mostly focuses on like, the Florida loop and, some of those smaller venues. So here it's a little bit more ambitious, down a little bit further down on the East Coast. And they're not, it's not like killing it where you'd be like, oh, okay, you really have to get on the road. People are like dying for this. So according to WrestleTix, so Spartanburg, again, this is, there's reserved seats and then there's a balcony that's not reserved. So this, you just have to look at it like, okay, what's going to be the final number? But in terms of estimated capacity, 574 and reserved, they did 484. Now, the other shows is more trackable. North Charleston, 773 with an estimated capacity of 1650. And the Bell Auditorium, 917 with an estimated capacity of 2302. So, John, let's say they do 1,000, an actual 1,000 a night. Do you think this motivates them to keep doing this? You already have the NXT talent under contract. You want to get them their reps. Like, what are they looking for? Like, development to perform in front of different crowds? You think they're trying to make money with this, and does it make sense?
I do think it's more of a reps kind of thing, like because they got to start, getting in front of live crowds, even if it's 1,000 people. They got to start doing more shows. They got to start doing the loops, and they got to start doing the house shows. You got to keep these guys fresh. You got to get these guys prepared for the next level. And obviously, you do want to, end up making some money and do, so 1,000 people will probably head you in the right direction of profitability for these shows. But I do think it's more about getting these guys some reps and some exposure and some TV time, like not TV time, but some time in front of the crowd.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So now on to TNA. So something that I've been thinking about, John, is like, where in the world is Chris Jericho, right? From what's been reported with AEW, he just has a few months left on his contract. Obviously, he's older. He's kind of out of shape now. It's interesting, like with AEW and New Japan, it would like his weight would like swing. You'd be like, well, I don't know if you're watching that much, John, but I was like, now he has great abs. Now he has a big gut, whatever. Like sometimes it depends maybe on what meal he had or whatever, but like it would kind of swing around. But like we haven't heard from him in a while, which I think is a good thing, because like the fan acceptance, like it feels like politics to me almost, like the fan acceptance of Jericho. Like first they loved his boat cruise and they would sing his song, and then they'd be like, they hate him, but he's actually like, he's actually been accused of like, kissing people, like, like in his private life, like whatever. I don't know, I don't want to get too into that, but like there's been those sort of things shared, like what's his relationships like behind the scenes. People are curious about that. And he always gives money to injured wrestlers when there's GoFundMe and so on. So maybe he's a good guy, whatever it may be. But there's all these like perceptions about him. And I think like if you were to come back to WWE, like especially for like a Royal Rumble, you always have that like moment, right? Like, but sometimes it like kind of dissipates, right? I remember when Mr. Perfect came back after all those years away, I was like, people went crazy. Or like Diesel comes back after all those years, people go crazy. But then like what happens next? So John, if you were like charting Jericho's career and the options were open to him, would you like be like, okay, I'm going to go to WWE. I'll get that big pop and I'll kind of see what I can do on a limited basis and kind of like have that moment and be done? Or maybe I would go to TNA and kind of like utilize that route. Like I'm a regular in TNA in Canada, and I could get into the Royal Rumble and like I can be used as a special attraction. Or maybe I'll see if I could pitch Tony Khan on something fresh and come back there.
I would 100%. I would do WWE. You got to go back and you really build yourself up. I would be like Royal Rumble surprise, WWE Hall of Fame, all that stuff, WrestleMania match, and then like retire at WWE. But go to the highest, go to the top. Definitely WWE. And I feel like the fans at WWE would be like clamoring for it. I think they would like a Jericho return.
Yeah, I think they would go crazy, especially at the beginning, and then he has to hold up. I think like and being older now too, like I mean he's much older than me, but like it's hard to kind of like turn that switch off and on. But if he's focused on getting in better shape, I think that would be an important thing for him too.
Yes, definitely. What else is going on in the world of TNA? What's going on with the Hardys?
Yeah, so a Hardy party. So they have their own thing going on, which is smart. Why not maximize it while you're in Minneapolis? I guess this has already occurred as we're recording, and I haven't heard how it went with Mr. Anderson. So they have these events, and they're actually doing one unrelated to TNA in New York, Times Square. I didn't get to see where this was, but like just generally with TNA, it's always good to maximize it when you're in town. With meet and greets, parties, that sort of thing. So they're doing that, I would say, more and more. When they're in Minneapolis for the Armory, tonight is we're recording. When they're in Edmonton, they're having a Night of Champions, Q&A and photo op opportunity. So a lot of interesting things going on with that. Now, in terms of their upcoming shows in the Armory, tickets were about 1,000 distributed each in Minneapolis. Edmonton, again, I think that for me is like the most interesting thing to look at. 1,945 tickets the first night, 1,794. And Lowell, It started moving beyond 3,000, 3,245. So we'll have to see if that picks up. And WrestleTix, when they shared some numbers for the Armory, they had the year to date was about a little bit over 1,000 tickets for TNA distributed in terms of tickets tracked this year. And I think with the way they had their tickets for sale this year, I think that includes every TNA show that would be tracked. So interesting to see what that ends up with at the end of the year. You'd also, if you, of course, take out the show in Long Island, it would be under 1,000. But I think they're obviously doing pretty well, in that regard.
As far as your favorite topic and my favorite, here and there, what is the latest of basically random places all around this globe? What is going on?
Yeah, so first, via Richmond's NPR, I guess before it's defunded.
Yes. Defunded,
they had a really interesting article. Entering the ring and building bonds at RVA Pro Wrestling. So I'll just read some of that. Let's see. This passion pushes performers to put their bodies online. Richmond's local professional wrestling scene is booming. Fans are packing bars and breweries, cheering body slams and flips, rooting for the wrestlers they like and booing the ones they don't. As part of the new summer series Finding Joy, Dean Mirshahi takes us to a recent match for the Nuclear Richmond experience. Despite the uncomfortable hot July night, hundreds of Richmonders huddled around a wrestling ring that was set up for RVA's Wrestle Ride. It was the group's 11th sold-out show since the promotion started in 2023, and fans couldn't stop talking about the last match of the night's 2 championship battles at Hardywood Park Craft Brewery off Ownby Lane. They've eagerly staked out standing room-only spots in the brewery's back room, where decorative beer barrels, brewing tanks, and supply lines the walls. Charles League, a local fan, said the passion that pushes wrestlers to push their bodies on the line is unmatched. It also makes packing into a warm room worth it. I mean, these guys are out here. They're doing something harder than what we're doing, so we can cheer for a little bit. League told VPM News, it's that shared commitment and the connection between wrestlers and fans that has driven the growth of the local pro wrestling scene and helped create a uniquely Richmond experience. So, Don, I don't think these are one-off things. You start seeing this kind of cool vibe, oftentimes connected to a brewery where it's just the thing to do, even if I'd imagine some of these people are not premium life event watchers all the time, and it helps to helps to push things out there. So there's actually an audio which I haven't yet listened to of this article, so if you're interested, go and find that. Now swinging all the way around the world, Malaysian market, New Straight Times. Malaysian wrestlers steal the spotlight at Slamfest 2025 by Faisal Salim. Kuala Lumpur. Despite the presence of former WWE champion Raj Desi, it was Malaysia's very own wrestlers who stole the show. Desi, better known as the Maharaja, praised Malaysian fighters for their performance against wrestlers from the US, Australia, Japan, and Singapore during the APAC Wrestling Showcase. Desi headlined the fight card with a clash against Ayaz Shaukat Fonseca Mohd Farid, who is known as the godfather of Malaysian wrestling. The latter scored a memorable victory. Malaysian talent really did shine today. If there's a MVP, it's for them. They are still early in their careers, but the future is bright. I'm excited to see what is next for Malaysian pro wrestling. For Shaukat, the win was the culmination of over a decade of hard work. When I started, our first show barely drew 15 people. Now we have international wrestlers in the ring with Malaysians, scouts watching worldwide, and fans chanting all night. So cool to see that market. Unfortunately, WrestleMap seems to have taken a step back from that to focus on some cool comedy initiatives, not through the WrestleMap handles and so on. So I'm following the comedy side of things. So we'll have to pick up the slack and keep our eyes out for international elements. Dave Marquez is always up to something. Who shared, I'm so grateful to Gray Media for clearing our United Wrestling Network programming across their sports networks. We sit alongside with the NBA, MLB, NFL, WNBA, and many great local leagues. You can currently watch Championship Wrestling every Wednesday at 9 p.m. Also, I'm excited to announce a new pro wrestling hour that Championship Television will be distributing very soon. So this is cool. Gray Media has a lot of these sports networks all across. So there's Arizona's Family Sports, Silver State, Gulf Coast, Palmetto, Tennessee Valley, and so on. So Action 5 News, So really creating their syndication, working with a owner of multiple television stations, in addition to the other work that they do, and always something to watch. So curious to see what that other hour will be like. And finally, the Wrestling Open has extended its residency in Pawtucket in Cranston, Rhode Island, which kind of messes me up because there's a Pawtucket, Rhode Island. Wrestling Open has signed extension with Rhodes on the Pawtucket in Cranston, Rhode Island for events almost every Monday night through the end of 2025. So really cool thing where they have the training school and then they have 2 nights of wrestling on IWTV all the time. It's just constant wrestling. And then they have their special shows and really such an important anchor for IWTV. And that's the news to this week, John.
Nice. Well done. Well said, Lavie. Let's wrap it up and head towards the plugs. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram at 2ManPowerTrip. How about you?
Follow me on X at LavieMarg, LavieMarg. Follow us on LinkedIn. Join our group, the Business of the Business LinkedIn group, where you'll get updates about the podcast, news, job listings when I find them, networking with people. Let's reach 150 people. And as we're working with the Believe Network, find us, like, rate, review, share. It's an important thing to keep things going as we near episode 250.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody out there, for listening. We'll see you right back here next week for episode 250. Have a good one.